The ghost blimp over San Francisco. On a heavy August morning in 1942, a thick Pacific fog rolled into San Francisco Bay, muffling waves and smothering the city in an otherworldly hush. From Treasure Island Airfield, a silver silhouette rose into the grey sky. L-8, a Navy L-class patrol blimp, its enormous gas bag swelling like a spectral whale against the low clouds. Inside the gondola, Lieutenant Ernest Cody, a polished Annapolis graduate of 27, ran final checklists while Ensign Charles E. Adams, 35, and on his first commissioned airship patrol, adjusted the throttle with steady hands. Their orders were clear: sweep the coastal waters for enemy submarines and safeguard the Pacific approaches to a nation still reeling from Pearl Harbor. At 500 feet, L-8 drifted westward toward the Farallon Islands. The morning light was pale and diffuse, as though filtered through the fog itself. Below, the ocean churned in restless currents. Above, the blimp's envelope glinted with condensation. For nearly 2 hours, Cody and Adams maintained radio silence, breaking their concentration only to confirm routine readings: fuel steady, weather unchanged, engines running smoothly. There was nothing to report, and in wartime America, nothing was still something worth knowing. At 7:38 a.m., a crisp transmission cut through the static. An iridescent patch of oil slick spotted a few miles off the islands. Could it mark a submarine's hull? L-8 circled low, dipping to within 30 feet of the water to inspect every shimmering droplet. The gondola's small windows rattled in the slipstream. Cody peered through binoculars while Adams mapped the slick's extent. Yet no periscope ever broke the surface. No torpedo wake ever rippled the waves. By 8:50 a.m., the expected acknowledgement from base never came. Controllers on Treasure Island twisted dials and squinted at signal meters, but heard only static. Their next call, 30 minutes later, brought alarming news. L-8 was veering east, drifting back toward the city instead of continuing its patrol northwest into open water. Its ballast had been jettisoned, its engines throttled back. It was an unplanned course, an abnormality in an operation defined by precision. On Ocean Beach at 11:15 a.m., 2 fishermen casting lines sensed a sudden gust. Above them hovered the massive blimp, limp and silent but for a faint hum of engines. Expecting to see 2 officers at the controls, they hauled on the mooring ropes and pried the gondola down. Inside, the cabin was deserted. The control valves were set to cruise. The compass wobbled erratically. Logbooks lay open, pages fluttering in the breeze. There was no sign of distress, no radio call, no parachute harness left behind, only 2 empty seats. Before the stunned fisherman could react, a surge of wind freed the ropes. With a groan of fabric and a hiss of escaping gas, L-8 lurched upward and sailed inland. One of its 2 depth charges, a hulking 325-pound cylinder, jostled loose from its shackles, plunged to the sand below, and detonated in a muffled thud that sent a column of sand arcing into the air. Surfers and sunbathers alike froze at the distant boom, bewildered by the sound of an explosion where none should be. For the next half hour, L-8 charted a surreal course over the city. It skimmed low across the manicured greens of the Olympic Club golf course, dipped beneath the towers of the Golden Gate Bridge, and drifted above the red-tiled rooftops of the Crocker Amazon neighborhood. Telephone wires snapped and roof tiles rattled as spectators pressed cameras to their faces, convinced their eyes were deceiving them. In wartime California, rigid blackouts and air raid drills left civilians unprepared to witness an unattended military airship wandering free. Finally, L-8 crossed into Daly City. Atop Bellevue Avenue, it clipped a low-hanging tree, tearing a gash in its envelope, then settled almost gently onto the pavement. Neighbors rushed out, hearts pounding, but the open hatch revealed only a static cockpit, switches untouched, engine controls set, and ammunition belts neatly stowed. Still no Cody, no Adams, just two empty seats, a fog-drenched consoling silence, and the lingering hiss of helium escaping into the sky. Within hours, headlines screamed of the ghost blimp that roamed San Francisco's streets, and the vanished crew that should have been at its helm. Military police sealed off the crash site, while Navy investigators combed the wreck. They found no footprints leading away, no signs of struggle or sabotage, no bullet holes, no forced entry. Every valve, lever, and gauge lay in its normal position. The gondola hatch latch bore scuff marks consistent with being opened from the inside, but the exterior was pristine. No external force could have yanked it free. Investigators scoured every logical possibility. Had Cody and Adams been swept overboard in pursuit of rescue? No life rafts or bodies were ever recovered. Had sudden vertigo or hypoxia driven them to step outside? The cabin was pressurized at safe altitude, and neither man exhibited any history of medical complaints. Had enemy action forced them out? Japanese submarines rarely ventured this close to shore, and no hostile craft was ever logged on Pacific Coast patrols. Speculation turned darker. Saboteurs? Espionage? Even rumors of alien abductions circulated in the tabloids, but each theory unraveled under scrutiny. The depth charges hung unarmed, the .30 caliber machine gun remained secured, the log indicated unbroken continuity in their flight plan. Both officers were experienced, cautious, and well-trained, unlikely candidates to abandon their post or court disaster. The Navy's official conclusion was brief and unsatisfying: inexplicable disappearance. The investigation closed, files sealed, and the story relegated to footnotes in naval archives. Yet L-8 herself carried on. After repairs, she resumed patrols, later sold to Goodyear in 1946, and reborn as America, touring air shows and advertising campaigns through the 1950s. The very gondola that once carried two vanished men now resides behind glass at the National Naval Aviation Museum in Pensacola, Florida, an empty shell, a mute witness to history. Decades have rippled past since that fog-filled dawn. San Francisco has grown, tides have shifted, and warships have given way to container vessels. But each August, aviation buffs and amateur sleuths return to Ocean Beach, retracing L-8's final flight in hopes of unearthing a clue. They pore over declassified radar logs, weather charts, and eyewitness testimonies, searching for the moment when the ghost blimp slipped from routine into mystery. Some insist newly released radar data reveals a fleeting blip near the Golden Gate, evidence of an altitude change not recorded in official logs. Others claim a witness saw a flash of movement in the surf, as though someone had climbed out to examine that oil slick, then vanished into the sea. Yet no photograph, no sonar ping, no credible testimony has ever closed the case. Perhaps Cody and Adams slipped into the water in a rescue attempt, misjudging the blimp's pitch, only to be swept away by the swift currents. Or maybe a sudden jolt of panic in the cramped gondola prompted them to exit, leaving the airship to wander free. Or, in a scenario as chilling as it is mundane, they simply climbed out to adjust ballast, never hearing the alarms or warnings they had trained to heed. We may never know. The ghost blimp of San Francisco remains a perfect confluence of wartime tension, mechanical failure, and human enigma. Two skilled officers, a routine patrol, a mysterious oil slick, and an empty cockpit drifting over city streets. It's a story that melds the valor of World War II aviation with the unsettling reminder that even the simplest missions can yield the most profound mysteries. Today, passengers on ferries crossing the bay and joggers along the Great Highway sometimes pause, imagining that bulbous silhouette returning one last time. They see only gulls and jets, yet in their minds, L-8 endures, a phantom invitation to revisit an unsolved chapter of American history, and to remember that, despite all our technology, some questions remain just beyond our reach. Hit subscribe, ring the bell, and leave a comment telling us which mystery you want unraveled next. Your curiosity powers our exploration. Join us on this voyage through time.